Right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today's event and this session. We know how valuable your time is, and we are delighted that you are here. My name is Mary Chris Formosa Santos from the New York City Center for Assistive Technology. And presenting with me today is my partner, Joseph
Hi.
Piazza.
Hi, good morning. I'm one of the other assistive technology supervisors. I cover the areas of Brooklyn and Staten Island. Welcome to our PD this morning.
So for our do now, everybody who's attending the session, if you can just go to joinpd.com and enter the code RIRZDB. I will also grab the link and pop it on the chat. Good morning, everybody. I'll also put it on Q&A. All right. Everyone a minute to join in. I'm not sure if you can see, but we have 200, 218, 225 students. You can see them all popping into our Pear Deck. It's super exciting. Yay! All right, let me start the class. Good morning. Wow. Wonder how many students. Oh, 325. They're still popping in. What do you think, Joe? Another minute?
Let's give them one more minute. If you're popping in now, please, on your screen, it says join PD. Type in that passcode and just take a moment to fill that out. Thank you very much.
So
we are at over 2,000, so I think we can start in about a minute.
Yeah. So this session is being recorded. We are also sharing a PDF version of this deck, and we are popping in links to all of these resources on that free PDF version. So do not worry, you will have access to everything that we are showing here today. Just what we want you to do is to just enjoy, listen, interact, and have fun in this session. Okay, so we're talking about tech strategies.
If you have any questions, we will answer questions. At the end, we will leave time for questions.
Great. Hey. Okay.
So Mary Chris and I will be turning off our video to save for bandwidth, and we'll be turning them back on for questions and answers. Enjoy the presentation, everyone.
All right. Also, we have our ASL interpreters. Thank you for joining our session. Let's begin. Okay, so we are social. If you are on Twitter, we want you to share something that you learned at a session, not just in our session, but across throughout the session, throughout today's event. Any inspirational quote or idea that resonated with you, any useful link or helpful photos that share useful information. These are hashtags at Formosa Americas and at Joe Piazza 20. And our hashtag for Beyond Access this year is Beyond Access Forum. All right. Topics that will be covered today, we will be focusing on universal design for learning and inclusive mindset. We'll go through inclusive strategies for reading, writing, math, executive function, research and study, and course content. And then we'll take a minute to reflect and provide you with resources. You will also have time to ask questions. Super exciting. Outcomes for today. Participants will define inclusion and learner variability. Participants will identify opportunities for accessibility and inclusion using technology aligned with the three UDL principles. And participants will name at least three strategies that they can start implementing in their classrooms as soon as possible. All right. So for our please do now, what does inclusion mean to you? How can we ensure that we are providing all learners access to our materials, right? So what we want you to do is on the bottom of your screen there is a gray line. You can click or tap on it in order to respond. So see, just show responses here. All right. So the question is, what is inclusion and how can we ensure we are providing access to all learners in the classrooms? By making sure every student has access to learning, that's great. By providing access to all types of learners through their process or how they present their work and how they receive information. I love that. This is always two prongs. Everyone is included. We can ensure we are providing access to all learners in our classrooms. That's great. One more. Inclusion means to include all. I love that. You know what I'm going to do also is I will pull all of these responses and drop them in. I'll update the PDF version so that it will be the same link, but then you will have access to these responses, which is exciting. Okay. So what is inclusion, right? It is basically, I'm coding. Just refresh this. Everyone is included, not exempt. I love that. People are coming in and dropping their responses on the chat also, which is really, amazing because this is what it's all about, right? We want to provide various means of access. I don't know what is happening, but Pear Deck is not on. Okay, let's just give it a minute. I'm sharing my screen. Okay. Okay, so why are we here? You're here because you want to learn about technology strategies and tools that would enable you to provide access to your students, right? So I'm quoting directly from the authors of the book Inclusive Learning 365, where the tools and strategies that we present here are coming from. So what they say is inclusion is an experience that is authentically inclusive. That means that anybody, even people the educator hasn't met yet, can come into it and leave having made progress towards achieving educational goals. So inclusion really is not a space where someone learns. It happens when we design educational experiences with everybody in mind. Any learner, regardless of ability, can participate in your classroom. They can participate and they can learn. The goal is to design inclusive educational experience. And for this to happen, one must adopt to an inclusive mindset. So we really want you to walk away with these terminologies. Educators with inclusive mindsets embrace and respect the fact that everyone is unique with different abilities, backgrounds, and preferences. And we are in New York City. We are the most diverse district in, I don't know, my opinion, in the world. So um, it's great. No, we're not responding to the deck. I think I will prompt you when there's an interactive session happening. So, but right now, just relax. Okay. The principal element in inclusive design is flexibility, and the goal is to experience, practice, and implement tools and strategies that further your own professional and personal goal towards adopting and spreading inclusive mindset. So let us take a minute to watch this video on universal design for learning, specifically about learner variability.
You created a business.
Okay, let's play this here. It's already loaded it.
Learner variability.
Can you hear?
Neuroscience tells us
Yes,
that
we can hear
learner
fine.
variability is the rule,
Thank you.
not the exception. Take something as simple as learning to bake a cake. How would you approach this task? Would you reach for a recipe book or watch a YouTube video? Start from scratch or use a box mix? Buy a sheet cake or opt for pie instead? The choice you make depends on many factors, such as your experience with baking, your level of comfort following recipes, and your personal preference for sweet treats. When learning something new, we bring to the task the complex web of our individual needs, skills, talents, interests, background, and culture. Based on our unique attributes, each of us will choose to bake a cake in the way that suits us best. Traditional educational practice attempts to address diversity by using curriculum designed for the average learner. It relies on singular strategies such as one textbook per grade level, paper and pencil tests, and lecture that presume to suit most learners. Yet, we know the result of such a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work for everyone. Some learners succeed, but many fail. Such a system disregards what we know from neuroscience and educational research, that all of us learn best when we can choose from options that best meet our preferences and needs. Curriculum must be flexible to address differences in how we learn, the pace at which we learn, how we demonstrate our knowledge, and what motivates and sustains us. When we don't recognize, honor, and design for learner variability, when we teach to the average, many students get left behind. When learning new things, we bring to the task the sum of our life experience. All learners are skilled in some areas while struggling in others. Being good at one thing doesn't presume a deficit or a strength in another. For example, a student who is good at recalling facts may not have an affinity for grammar. He might flourish in small groups while feeling daunted by reading aloud. Like the singularity of a fingerprint, each student has a unique way of learning. Variability in and among learners should not be viewed as undesirable, but rather celebrated as virtue. Diversity, after all, is a strength that contributes to the common good. Universal Design for Learning offers a framework for designing curriculum that addresses the predictable, complex, and varied needs of learners. It is the key to unlocking the wealth of talent inherent in all learners. Learner variability. Neuroscience.
Great. All right. I'm sorry. There is some background noise. I'm looking at the video and it seems to be playing. This is linked up on the PDF version, but I will be dropping it on the chat for everybody to have access. Great. I apologize for that technical issue. Is it a little bit better now? I'm so sorry. All right, thank you. So now let's go back to the presentation. I wanted to debrief this. The video reiterates that learner variability is the norm, right? So students who experience obstacles in the learning process need to become aware and be exposed to solutions to advocate for what they need. The curriculum has customizable options which allow learners to progress from where they are, not where we would have imagined them to be. So the takeaway for this is we should embrace learner variability, and only then will we know how to provide them with tools to let them fly, right? UDL is designing curriculum with the largest variety of learners in mind to provide equal opportunities to succeed. It reduces curriculum barriers and provides appropriate points of access to support and challenge all learners from the start. That is the key word, from the start. We have to provide proactive design of the environment and curricula to reduce learners. Fixing the curricula rather than fixing the student is the focus. So now there is a switch of providing access from an individual student to providing access to the environment and the curriculum. And that is the biggest takeaway for this session. UDL was developed by CAST, or Center for Applied Special Technology. This is officially recognized in the reauthorization of IDEA back in 2004. And UDL, as we know, is a framework to guide the development and delivery of lessons to support learning for all students with variety of learning styles. So there are three UDL frameworks, right? There are three guiding principles. So there's multiple means of engagement where we tap into all learners' interests by offering choices of content, choices of tools, motivating learners by offering adjustable levels of challenge, multiple means of representation. We're using variety of methods to present information, provide a range of means to support all learners. And the third principle is the principle of multiple means of action and expression, where we provide all learners with alternative ways to act skillfully and demonstrate what they know. All right, so we all know that UDL fosters expert learners. They, I'm so sorry. Okay, so the goal is to foster expert learners who are purposeful and motivated, resourceful and knowledgeable, and strategic and goal directed. How do we do that? How do we support them? So this is the first strategy, top 5 UDL tips for fostering expert learners. We support relevant goal setting. So we ask ourselves, are the goals clear and relevant for my learners? How can I better support my students to set their own relevant, meaningful goals? The next one is to communicate high expectations for all and recognize variability. Promote disciplinary expertise, focus on the process, not just the outcome, and to guide self-reflection. And to help you go through these 5 UDL tips, there are guiding questions on here. Okay, let's move on to the exciting part. So this is a picture of Josh Stern. He is a New York City DOE alumni and is now a college student at NYU. This is what he said when I asked him about technology. He said this about technology supported learning. When my classroom allows for these tools, such as those you see on the slide here, when my classroom allows for these tools to be accessible to me, I am able to engage and participate in every opportunity of my learning. So technology alone is not accessible or inclusive. We give assistive technology to students all the time, but it really is just a tool if it is not used or integrated into the students' learning. It requires teachers, school staff with inclusive mindset to design educational experiences. So it's the same with instructional technology, educational technology, or digital learning platforms. It still requires teachers and school staff with inclusive mindset in order to design educational experiences and make things accessible to students. So now we go on to our tech exploration. Throughout the session, we will share strategies that address reading, writing, math, executive function, research and study, and we, sorry, I apologize. Thank you, Colleen. Um, so we have research and study and cross content area. So each strategy will have the image of the corresponding UDL principle for guidance. So note that some of these tools provide a multitude of function and you can use them in variety of strategies. The technologies shown here are mostly free to the New York City Department of Education. There are some that may be paid, but with a nominal fee. Okay, so first strategy, polling for learner engagement and checks for understanding. So this targets the principles of engagement and action and expression up top. I put it up there. Polls have helped educators check the understanding of a particular concept in a small or large group of learners all at once. So using mobile devices, computers, or even low-tech means such as QR codes on cards, that's Flickr, learners can provide input into a poll to demonstrate what they know. Additionally, educators can collect feedback on the pace of the group, right? Um, and their interest on the topic of a learning experience, and also to gain insight into learner preferences. So these are samples of free tools, polleverywhere.com. We've linked up all of these tools on your deck, getflickers.com. Zoom.com, if you log into Zoom meetings, there's a built-in polling as well. And this presentation is powered by Pear Deck, and Pear Deck has built-in activities that you can use for polling as well, and so does Nearpod. So on our next slide, we're going to model a poll. This is to model the strategy where as teachers, we're connecting with our students. I will definitely share the PDF, 100%. The polls actually helps teachers find out if the content is personally relevant, and they gain insight to learner preferences. And this way the teacher can make adjustments to their lessons and provide targeted support. So let's model that. Let's find out how everyone is doing so far. At the bottom of your screen, we want you to tap on it or click it to answer this poll. Okay, let us know if you are able to understand the topic. Okay, select keep going, I understand. Select I'm a little bit confused, or stop, I need help. See? Yay! All right, I have an overwhelming feedback that people understand. Woohoo! Are you guys excited about Pear Deck? I love Pear Deck. I also love Nearpod equally. All right. Thank you so much, you guys, for participating. All right, next one. All right, so for the next strategy, adopting a consistent review process prior to distribution of learning materials. Reviewing learning materials for accessibility prior to implementation. This is from the AT team, one of the top strategies. Can digital text be read aloud by text-to-speech? By the way, this taps into the two principles of UDL, multiple means of representation and multiple means of action and expression. Okay, so before you present your materials to your students, ask yourselves, can digital text be read aloud by text-to-speech? Can it be manipulated to be enlarged? Can the student change the color to increase contrast, right? You may have students with IEPs or 504 plans who require this type of accommodation. Or perhaps UDL, a student who is struggling to access text but has not yet been identified, right? So these are some questions that you want to ask yourselves, right? And on the side here, these are the tools and strategies that we're giving you. If you click on the link, okay, we'll give you a sample of accessibility review checklist. You can use this as a guide, and I put a hack there where when you click on it, you can click on make copy, and this tool becomes yours. Okay, so you only. As you can see, I'm logged in, and this gets saved on my drive. All right, so that is these are the tools that you can use. For accessible educational materials, there is a pilot tool. This is more of an organizational tool. If your school wants to learn about accessible educational materials and wants to provide that for students who qualify, then get on the CAS website. Okay. Also, invite learners to critique, review, contribute, and provide input prior to implementation. I love asking students to review my materials, and also evaluators and colleagues with, who struggle with access to review materials, because then they can provide real input. Okay. And there's also accessibility checker. All right. Next up is reading. Okay, stoking a love of reading with ebooks and audiobooks. So we all know that digital and audiobooks are powerful tools to engage learners in reading by removing the barriers of the actual decoding or reading, right? Through text to speech and audio options. So we want to empower them to choose their own books so they want to read, not so they have to read. Learners must be given opportunities to read for pleasure. All right, so we want to engage learners in reading by removing the barriers. We want to promote independence, empower them to choose their own books, and provide them with programmatically available digital materials, right? So one of the, I think, top tool that we have right now, and they're here today, is Sora. Sora is available in New York City Department of Education. Okay, another source of digital materials is New York Public Library through the Libby app. Okay, there are also free materials through Gutenberg.org. These are free, non-copyrighted materials. LibriVox.org are free audiobooks, right? And for students who are eligible to receive it, these are for students with disabilities, Bookshare.org, NYPL Talking Books, and the National Library Service. Yes, they are 100% free, Carmen. So the National Library Service has free resources. So they have free readers and free books for eligible students. Okay, we also have Learning Ally. Learning Ally is not free. It is based on the enrollees in that organization, but it is an approved resource for our students here in New York City Department of Ed, and they have human read books. So it's really nice because this is actually recorded and read by humans. Okay. All right, so I'm going to transfer over to my partner, Joe Piazza, to continue with the strategies.
Thank you, Mary Chris. So I'm going to move through this a little bit quicker just because it's 10:15 and our session's officially over at 10:30. I want to give us an opportunity to have some questions and answers. So with reading and executive functioning, you'll notice some of the same applications and tools and strategies are going to be present here as well as there. Closed captioning is an amazing tool. It helps for learners with different needs, those that have hearing loss, for example, those that are multilingual learners. One cool strategy, if you look on the right side here, is the way to use, whether it's PowerPoint or Google Slides, open up one window, turn on closed captioning, and then minimize that slightly, and then have a second window open. So this will be here. We'll go through more in depth if there are questions at the end. Mary Chris, can we move on to the next slide? Great. So here, writing, one of the most common things here is producing text to speech or using transcription services. Oftentimes, people may think these two are one and the same. However, they are not. Speech to text is generally word for word. When we're using transcription, it allows for a full transcription of what one's thoughts are without having any interruptions. It's not just saying a few sentences or a few words and then stopping. It will record your entire items here. So some of our wonderful tools here include voice typing in Google Docs, Dictate in Microsoft Office. All of our Office products are included for anyone that's a DOE employee, or if you pay for Office 365 separately on your own, all of these are included. There are also built-in accessibility features that are built into all Apple devices, whether that is Mac OS, iPad OS, or iOS. Chromebooks as well have accessibilities, as well as Windows computers. Google offers their workspace, which has similar features as Office 365. One of my favorite features is OneNote. It's part of the Office 365 suite. You can use it for multiple things, including executive function and writing. If you have not tried it, a basic version is free on your iPhone, iPad, or Android device. Last thing for writing is Dragon Naturally Speaking. This is not free software. Yes, Dragon can be extremely difficult for those users that can get through that initial training phase, can use it effectively to work their entire computer. They can say, computer, open Microsoft Word, and computer will do exactly that. Mary Chris, can we move on to our next slide, please? So math, using digital geoboards is one way of helping students with math. So this helps us with manipulation. It's okay, Maricris, you can go straight to that slide, that's fine. You can go to the geoboards. So here you can see Maricris is giving an example of it. Here we can do things such as measuring concepts, we can do geometry concepts, we can help students that have motoric issues that can't use an actual geoboard with a rubber band, where all they have to do is tap on their color and then tap on the point where they start and the point where they end. Fairly simple and straightforward. Just go back one more slide, please, Maricris, before we move forward. Clever ways to use geoboards. This is an amazing website for any people that want some ideas and strategies on how to use geoboards. This is an amazing website. It also gives you other strategies such as, scroll down to number 17 for me. Okay, so learning how to do fractions. Students have a hard time doing fractions, so here is a visual representation using an actual geoboard as opposed to doing it on the website. You can do something similar. Okay, Maricris, so we can move on to our next one. Executive functioning. Here we're only going to talk about executive functioning in regards to managing anxiety with self-regulation resources. This is to help students build some cognitive awareness, help them be able to manage anxiety. It's a way to help them develop an anxiety toolkit so they can identify their own patterns and track their progress. Of this group here, the one that I thought was most useful was the Mindshift CBT. This was made in Canada. It's an amazing application on your iPad. It also works on your iPhone. I don't know if this is an Android applicable app as well, but it's extremely useful. to help some of our students cope with anxiety and realize where they are. One of the other things that are used, and it was mentioned in the 18 Clever Ways to Use Geoboards, was the zones of regulation and helping a student realize where they are. So these are all ways to help students. Maricruz, we move on to the next slide. So researching and studying. So again, you will notice that we have Office 365 as one of our tools. The same thing goes with using Google Workforce. It allows for students to have an ability to read their notes, listen to notes, maybe annotating on it, having it synchronized across platforms. It really eliminates the pressure for a student to collect all the information that they need at one sitting. So to do that, you can turn on audio syncing. It's really an amazing tool. Glean.co is another transcription service. This one, again, is not free, but it does work beautifully. So reflections. What is the most important takeaway for you from today's session? Once again, please log in on the bottom right-hand side. You'll be able to answer your question on their pair PDF. And take a moment to answer this question for us.
Yay, Pear Deck. The presentation motivated me to use Pear Deck. Yay! All right, every single thing that we showed you today are linked up to that PDF slide, which I will be pasting again. So I'll say link to PDF. Hooray, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's celebrate diversity and learner variability. We wish everyone a great school year. And remember, true inclusion happens when we design educational experiences with everyone in mind. So yay, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for joining. Takeaway with planning inclusive education is possible. A different platform, the different platform students access content in numerous subject areas. Thank you so much. I will be updating that PDF. So keep that link with you. I'll update that PDF this afternoon with all of your feedback, and that way you have it.
So
Great.
Maricruz, there's a few questions in the questions and answers. We have a few minutes before we
Perfect.
have to go. So one question from Linda Acevedo. For text that is read, I'm sorry, wrong one. It moved up on me. This was from Andrea Puris. How well do the text-to-speech tools work for students with accents? So when you're using something like voice dictation on Google Docs or Dictate in Microsoft Office, that requires an online connectivity for it to work actively. And it's generally not such a bad tool as opposed to using a built-in one on Mac or Windows. Those do not need internet connection. It's similar to using Siri or Google Now, or if anyone's used Cortana on Office. It does have an ability to work pretty well with accents, but never is it 100%. Maricruz has a question from Jody Kalb about, do you have a program that they use for science? Do you know a specific program that you like for science?
For science, well, I know that Passport is accessible through Teach Hub, but technically on accessibility side, we use whatever built-in accessibility the student has access to. For teachers, you may want to reach out to your instructional coach for that. I know that there's two teams, one District 75 and one is for the regional. So yeah.
Ooh, one more question. Where did it go? It was.
Where can I find these resources? It will be on the PDF. So check back in on that PDF. Hang on to that link because I will be updating it with the responses for today.
So
Okay.
Tushman asked, you spoke a lot about ways to assist visually impaired. Is there anything for hearing impaired?
Oh, Right, closed captioning. Yes, there are definitely accessibility features that are available for and that's across platforms too, not just
Right.
not just
So
we're using now.
the transcription service, the transcribing service is also amazing because if a student is recording, even if they don't have great hearing, Microsoft Office can put everything down in text and then the student can read and it will tell you speaker one, speaker two. And if someone helps the student identify who speaker one is as teacher, for example, and speaker two as student, it'll then give you each voice in text with the name of that person. So that's also a very good, useful tool.
That's great. Let me see.
Here's another question. For text read, is that only for Google Chromebooks or for any computer using Chrome? Would you like to answer that one?
I'm sorry, Joe, hang on. I'm putting the PDF version. What did you say? Sorry.
Sure. For text that is read, is that
Uh-huh.
only for Google Chromebooks or for any computer using Chrome?
Any computer. So text to speech is a universal feature across platforms now. That's available, and usually you can find it under settings and accessibility. So it's available in Chromebook, Windows, Macs, even Apple devices, iPads. Great PDF link. Yep.
So, okay, I think we're I've seen text-to-speech tools as Google Chrome add-on via the Read and Write add-on. However, is there now a built-in text-to-speech tool on Google Docs?
No, not on Google Docs yet, but there is a text-to-speech tool within the computer where the Google Doc is opened. So if you're using a Chromebook, you can go to the accessibility menu and activate text-to-speech there. Okay. Can the link to this presentation be placed on the screen? There are too many chats for the link to be accessible. Okay. Yes. So let me just make a QR code.
So while you do that, I'm going to answer this question. Are there any tools accessible using Kindle Fire tablets? Kindle Fire tablets are basically Android tablets with some more limitations. It's not one of the primary sources for accessibilities for students, unfortunately. There are some accessibilities built in that are basic Android accessibilities, but the majority of accessible features you will find in a standard Android tablet or an iPad using iPad OS.
Okay. So I made a, oops, not share. Okay. Oh, did we? Share my screen. Let's try this again. Okay, so this is the okay, so that's the QR code for the PDF version of this presentation. Okay, so just snap a picture of it, take a screenshot, or you can go ahead and scan it.
Okay, we have about 1 minute left, everyone.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the Beyond Access forum.
Enjoy the rest of the day.